Tanya Clark approached the gleaming facade of Le Couronne, clutching a small coin purse in her hand. At 53 years old, she was neither rich nor frail. She carried herself with the quiet dignity of someone who had spent decades caring for others. A former nurse turned part-time tutor and single mother, Tanya had finally saved enough to treat herself on her birthday with a modest gift from one of Paris's most exclusive boutiques. She wore a simple black pant, a white blouse, and low-heeled shoes. Clean, neat, but hardly a statement of wealth. Her silver hair was neatly pinned back, and on her face lingered the subtle creases of decades spent working multiple jobs to raise her 3 children. Inside her mind, memories flickered. Hospital corridors, patient charts, the anxious yet hopeful faces of her children. Caitlin, her eldest, Riley, her middle, and Ben, her youngest. They had grown up in Dayton, Ohio, where Tanya juggled grueling 12-hour nursing shifts with weekend side gigs, lending her voice and skills as a tutor. When her marriage fell apart, she endured silent nights worrying about rent and overdue bills. But her children flourished. Caitlin became a basketball prodigy whose name lit up high school gymnasiums. Riley found her calling in graphic design, and Ben excelled at robotics. Now that her children were grown, Tanya had decided, if only for one day, to indulge herself. The boutique's heavy bronze doors gleamed under the gentle autumn sun. Tanya paused to steady her racing heart. Within its tall windows, impeccably dressed mannequins draped in silk scarves and tailored jackets gleamed like jewels. She imagined slipping a cashmere scarf around her neck, something soft and luxurious she could keep forever as a reminder that she too deserved beauty. A tall security guard in a sharp black suit stood sentinel at the entrance. His name tag read Mark. He was well known among the staff, a fastidious, nearly chilly presence who scanned every customer with an exacting eye. Tanya approached, managing a timid smile. "Good morning," she said in French, hoping to appear polite. Mark's gaze flicked to her modest ensemble, plain white blouse tucked into simple trousers, worn but tidy shoes, and then up to her steady gaze. He paused before speaking. "I'm sorry, madame," he said in a clipped voice. "Today we are closed for a private event." Tanya blinked. She had just seen an elegant couple, man in a crisp suit, woman wearing Dior heels, slip in moments before. "But I saw them enter," Tanya protested. "May I please browse? It's my birthday and I saved for months for something small. A scarf, perhaps." Mark's lips tightened. "They are on the guest list. Gentlemen in a tuxedo, madam. Do you have an invitation?" Tanya shook her head, heart fluttering painfully. She did not want a confrontation. Instead, she forced a polite smile. "No, I'm sorry, I understand." Then she turned and walked away, feeling each step weigh like lead. With every movement, a memory returned. 20 years ago, newly divorced, her children still in grade school, she had tried to buy a simple dress at a department store. Because her blouse wasn't designer labeled, she had been ignored until she left, clutching her single paycheck in her fist. She had looked into the mirror in the ladies' room and seen tears stream silently down her cheeks. At that moment, Tanya Clark vowed, one day she would show her children how to rise above the sting of judgment. Now, on the sidewalk in Paris, rain threatened behind gray clouds. She allowed herself a deep breath, blinking back fresh tears. Somehow, as always, she managed to leave without scene or scandal. Taxis honked past, cafes buzzed with patrons. The city felt alive, vibrant, unfeeling. She could almost laugh at the absurdity. After decades of sacrifice, she had saved for this moment, only to be deemed unworthy. That night, in a small hotel room overlooking the Seine's distant gas lamps, she undressed slowly and changed into her nightdress. She thought about her children. Her phone buzzed. A birthday video call from Caitlin. She paused, swallowing her pride. Should she tell her? Could she frame it as just one of those things so as not to worry her daughter? But a mother who had spent her life raising honest children knew that honesty was better than a lie. Swiping to accept the call, the screen brightened with an image of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's rising star, her college success already legendary. Caitlin's curly hair was pulled into a high ponytail. Even through the screen, her energy radiated. "Mom, bon anniversaire!" Caitlin exclaimed. "How are you feeling?" Tanya managed a small smile. Je vais bien. I'm in Paris. It's beautiful. She summoned her calmest voice. I tried to stop by Le Couronne. They said it was closed for a private event. Caitlin's brow furrowed. They turned you away, but it's your birthday. Tanya shrugged, a flicker of pain crossing her face. I suppose they didn't think I looked, well, important enough. In the silence that followed, Caitlin's expression shifted as if something snapped into focus. Mom, wait. She sat back thinking, I can't let this go. You don't deserve that. I know what I can do. The next morning at dawn, Caitlin checked into the university's athletic center for voluntary shoot-around, an early session before classes. Her coach, an older man named Diane Miller, noticed her distracted air and sat beside her. You okay? Caitlin recounted her mother's rejection. By the time she finished, Diane nodded in agreement. You have a platform few athletes can claim. You can fix this. But how? Caitlin asked. She was 22, not exactly a tech titan or billionaire. Yet she knew that her star power, her relationships with sponsors, and her reputation for philanthropy could exert influence. I don't have Elon Musk money. Coach Miller smiled. You have something better. You have heart. Let's talk to your agent, your sponsors. You have a voice. Use it. By midday, Caitlin's agent had arranged a conference call with Eric Duran, CEO of Chic International, a major French fashion conglomerate and partner in Le Couronne. Using her college scholarship funds and sponsorship endorsements, Caitlin offered to invest directly in Le Couronne. She would purchase a significant minority share, enough to insist on policy changes, under one condition, that the boutique become an exemplar of dignity and respect, open to anyone regardless of appearance or income. In return, the Chic Line board would maintain majority ownership but agree to Caitlin's terms. That evening, in a private meeting held in Le Couronne's sleek marble-lined boardroom, Caitlin spoke calmly but firmly. She wore a tailored white blazer and soft gray trousers, professional, understated. Madame Fremont, the longtime manager, sat at the head of the table with an expression of disbelief. The signature chandeliers above cast a soft glow across tables set with crystal water goblets. Caitlin made her offer. I believe that this boutique's image of exclusivity can be transformed into something more powerful. We will preserve the quality of merchandise and the aura of craftsmanship, but we will redefine luxury as dignity and inclusion. 5% of our annual revenue will fund scholarships specifically for single-parent families, especially aspiring female athletes, so they can pursue education and sports without financial hardship. 20% of inventory each season will be designated as a community collection. Discounted, yet still finely crafted items available to those who serve the public. Teachers, nurses, first responders, social workers, through a verified membership program. In addition, every staff member will undergo dignity and respect training, and anyone unwilling to embrace this ethos can resign with full severance. Silence blanketed the room. Madame Fremont's impeccable posture remained, but worry creased her brow. You asked 20%, she finally said. How will we maintain our margins? Our clientele expects exclusivity. Caitlin leaned forward, hands clasped. We're not cheapening anything. We're simply expanding our definition of who deserves to see these garments up close. Our luxury will be measured not by price tags, but by respect. Those who volunteer in our communities, regardless of financial status, will enter these doors on equal footing. In return, our reputation will flourish. Customers will pay full price knowing that a portion goes to support those who give to society. It's bigger than fashion. It's human dignity. Even so, several board members exchanged uneasy looks. But when Eric Duran, the Chic Line CEO, rose and said, Caitlin, I believe in what you're doing, the tide turned. Madame Fremont sighed, then nodded. Very well, we'll do it, on your terms. Over the next week, the boutique's staff underwent a radical transformation. Nearly half the team reported to a training facility near the Seine. There, a bright conference room hosted sessions on unconscious bias, empathy building, role-playing, real-life customer interactions. Mark, the security guard who had turned Tanya away, sat near the back, a knot of guilt and resistance in his throat. Across the room, Sophie, an associate with a gentle disposition, spoke up during a role-play exercise. I saw Mrs. Clark yesterday. I felt ashamed but said nothing. I want to change. For 2 days, Mark endured simulations where he played the customer who judged by appearances. A teenager in thrift shop jeans, a nurse in scrubs, a battered elderly man. He felt what it was like to be ignored, to be whispered about, to watch the door close just as he approached. Only after he admitted aloud, "I don't want to treat anyone that way again," did he sense the first genuine shift in his heart. Meanwhile, Caitlin coordinated with local charities to create a Tanya card, a membership for verified public servants and single parents. Meanwhile, Caitlin coordinated with local charities to create a Tanya card, a membership for verified public servants and single parents. She invited a few dozen teachers, nurses, firefighters, and community volunteers to a private preview one evening. Among them was Marie, a primary school teacher from Montmartre, wearing simple jeans and a cotton blouse. "I never dreamed of shopping here," she whispered as Mark, now trained to greet everyone equally, opened the door with a respectful nod. Sophie guided Marie to a display of soft cashmere scarves, one in deep burgundy, another in dove gray. Marie's eyes brimmed with tears. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, clutching her Tanya card. "This means more than you know." Exactly 7 days after Tanya's rejection, a red ribbon stretched across Le Couronne's new entrance. A press release had gone out announcing the Grand Dignity and Elegance reopening, with Caitlin and her mother, Tanya Clark, as honored guests. Inside, Madame Fremont, dressed in charcoal silk, oversaw final preparations. Mark adjusted the velvet ropes, and Sophie arranged a tray of champagne flutes beside a display of silk scarves. VIPs from the fashion world, local journalists, and invited members of the public, teachers, nurses, firefighters, clustered outside, camera straps slung over shoulders, smartphones at the ready. At precisely 10:00 a.m., Caitlin emerged onto a small platform in front of the boutique. She wore a fitted navy blue pantsuit, professional, yet approachable, and her hair was pulled back into a sleek ponytail. Her mother, Tanya, stood beside her in a teal cashmere sweater and black slacks, holding a single crimson rose. The crowd fell silent. "Bonjour, Paris," Caitlin began, speaking in fluent French. A round of appreciative laughter rippled through the audience. "We stand here today to show that luxury and dignity go hand in hand. This boutique has represented the pinnacle of exclusivity for decades. But true luxury is not who you are, it's how we treat one another." She turned to her mother. "This is my mother, Tanya Clark, a woman who raised 3 children on one teaching salary and countless extra shifts. She never asked for much, just a little kindness in a world too quick to judge." Cameras flashed as Tanya placed a gentle hand on her daughter's arm. She cleared her throat and spoke with unexpected strength. "Yesterday, when Mark turned me away, he saw only my clothes, not my story. But today, thanks to Caitlin's passion, I stepped through these doors with my head held high. This isn't just about me. This is for every woman who ever felt unworthy because of her appearance. Thank you for giving dignity to home." With that, Caitlin and Tanya cut the ribbon together. The crowd burst into applause as they stepped inside. Mark, now wearing a softer expression, opened the bronze door with a genuine smile for each guest. Wealthy patron or public servant, indistinguishable in his welcoming eyes. Sophie guided Marie and several other community members toward a silk scarf display. Madame Fremont gave a gracious nod to a school teacher clutching her Tanya card. Even the local Le Monde photographer snapped pictures of a nurse inspecting a hand-embroidered purse beside a fashion designer in a bespoke Chanel suit. By evening, hashtag dignity and elegance trended on social media in France. Headlines proclaimed, "WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark redefines Parisian luxury." Le Couronne opens doors to all with Tanya Clark initiative. Mark, the doorman who learned to welcome everyone. Inside the boutique, daily sales had doubled compared to the prior week. Visitors from around the world arrived to witness the transformation firsthand. Some came simply out of curiosity. "I walked past this store for years," one wealthy patron admitted, while selecting a full-price cashmere coat. "Today, I felt welcome here. I'll buy something, even if I don't need it, just to support this mission." Others came with Tanya cards in hand, a volunteer firefighter who grinned as he chose a pair of leather gloves at half price, an emergency room nurse who gasped as she held a hand-painted silk shawl, a single mother of two who, panting with excitement, was led by Sophie to a rack of discounted wool coats. The next morning, Le Couronne's staff assembled for a follow-up meeting. Mark rattled his lanyard, eyes downcast. When Caitlin asked for his reflections, he said quietly, "I met a man last night at the shelter, Pierre. He used to be a banker. The crisis took everything. Homelessness was hard enough, but every day he walked past storefronts like this and felt invisible. I never understood until now how much pain that can cause." Tears flickered across Senior Manager Madame Fremont's cheeks. "I never realized," she whispered. Caitlin nodded, voice firm but gentle. "It's okay. We learn. From now on, every customer gets treated with equal respect. No exceptions. If someone falters, they'll choose another path. But I believe we can grow." Within 3 months, Le Couronne replicated its Tanya project model in its sister boutiques around the globe. In New York, Elegance by Clark launched a similar initiative. In Tokyo, Noblesse and Respect rebranded an entire floor for community members. In Dubai, the Desert Crown reimagined pop-up opened its doors to underprivileged local artisans and volunteers. Tanya Clark herself became a symbol. She traveled to Washington, D.C. to accept an award for Champion of Dignity. European newspapers ran feature stories. From Ohio to Paris, a mother's quiet strength. Universities introduced dignity in retail courses. Even the Paris Metro displayed posters reading, "You deserve respect, Le Couronne believes it." But beyond headlines and hashtags, the real change lay in small moments. Cafes near Le Couronne no longer had signs that read, "Reserved for patrons only." The Louvre hosted free monthly community night vouchers for teachers and nurses. City buses in Lyon offered priority seating to anyone wearing a charitable organization's badge, inspired by the Tanya card. 2 years later, Tanya Clark returned to Paris for another celebration, the second anniversary of Le Couronne's transformation. The boutique was closed to the public for a private gala. Chairs were draped in ivory satin. Floral arrangements filled the air with jasmine and lavender. Among the invited guests were former employees who had left rather than change, now welcome back to see how the world had shifted. Across the room, a projection flickered. Tanya Project Year 2 highlights. Images of community members shopping side by side with socialites. Scenes of Mark volunteering at a homeless shelter. Sophie running dignity workshops for other retailers. And dozens of letters from single parents explaining how the Tanya scholarships had changed their children's lives. Caitlin took the stage again, this time wearing a floor-length emerald gown that shimmered under the crystal chandeliers. She looked radiant, her smile as bright as ever. At her side, Tanya, still glowing, wore a simple sapphire shawl that Caitlin had gifted her from Le Couronne's community collection. 2 years ago, a doorman saw only what Tanya was wearing and not who she is. Today, I stand here proud because that same woman has been the catalyst for a global movement. We have raised over $2 million for single-parent scholarships. 20 retailers worldwide have adopted dignity policies. Countless people have shared their stories of judgment and redemption. But our work is not done. Every time someone enters a store, every time a clerk smiles at a customer in jeans, we reinforce the idea that respect is the greatest luxury. A gentle ovation arose. Some guests dabbed their eyes. Behind them, a honorary plaque was unveiled. The Tanya Foundation for Dignity and Inclusion, established with an initial endowment of €1 million. Its mission, identify public spaces where people face demeaning judgment and transform them through education and grants. As the gala wound down, Mark approached Tanya with a timid expression. "Madam Clark," he said softly, "I used to guard that front door as if my judgments were law. Now I lead tours for VIPs and community members alike. Thank you for teaching me the true meaning of respect." Tanya placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Merci, Mark," she replied. "You opened your heart." Back in Iowa, Caitlin prepared for the upcoming WNBA season. She had already arranged for part of her salary to fund free sports clinics for underprivileged girls. At home, in her childhood living room, now updated but still filled with photographs, She and her mother sat together. A framed photo on the mantel showed Tanya wearing that teal cashmere sweater, holding the crimson rose from the reopening. "Mom," Caitlin said, tracing the frame, "someone is trying to copy our model in Tokyo. They want advice. They asked if they could call you as the original inspiration." Tanya smiled wistfully. "I'm just a mother who walked away with her head high." Caitlin squeezed her hand. "You didn't just walk away, you changed the world." The two women shared a quiet laugh. One crisp autumn afternoon, as a gentle breeze carried leaves across their porch, Tanya leaned back in her rocking chair. Her grandchildren, one of Caitlin's little boys, sat at her feet, pressing questions like, "Grandma, why did that man turn you away?" She answered as she always did, with calm conviction, "Because he couldn't see my heart through my clothes." But remember, sweetheart, your worth is never in what you wear. It's in how you treat others and how you carry yourself. When you believe that, you open doors for many. Behind them, the sun dipped toward the horizon. The world beyond their porch seemed quietly at peace. And every so often, a crimson rose etched in memory reminded them, dignity is the truest form of luxury.